speaking of Arthur Smith and his impact with the Pittsburgh Steelers, have your opinion, say what you want. It's always good to get an inside look, and that's what we're here to do. We're bringing in our boy, one of the hardest workers in the industry, the next up-and-comer, if you ask me, down in Atlanta, Daniel Flick, beat reporter for the Atlanta Falcons, SI Falcon Report. Daniel, great to have you on. Love that you're bringing the energy. And let's hear a little bit about Arthur Smith. How you feeling, my friend?
Noah, I am thrilled to be here. I think it's my second appearance on the podcast. The first one, Jalen Carter talk last April, I believe.
True.
Lot has changed in that time. Arthur Smith talk. My first thought when I saw the news is, wow, what a great day for Najee Harris, right? I mean, What a great day for Najee Harris. I mean, you think about Arthur Smith, you think about a guy committed to running the football, sometimes a little bit too committed, you could argue. But again, the thing about Arthur's tenure that a lot of people missed in Atlanta, year one, Matt Ryan's there. The way that they ran that offense, completely different from the 2 years after that when you have so much quarterback uncertainty. Well, not really uncertainty, just incompetence, frankly, with Mariota and Ritter and Heineke and three guys who should not be week one starting quarterbacks next fall. That was a roadblock, but you could see the offensive potential that Arthur's scheme, the flexibility within it to where if you've got to be pass heavy, you can be pass heavy. If you've got to be run heavy, you can be run heavy. He can kind of work with that personnel however he needs to kind of maneuver it, if you will. And I think that's something that in Pittsburgh, with the personnel that's there, I'll be curious to see how Deontay Johnson works out there. Because Calvin Ridley, not the same player, but in my personal assessment, kind of more of a finesse route running specialist, high level separator. Calvin was not a big fan of Arthur Smith's offense. Very middle of the field heavy, very physically demanding on receivers. That was not great for that style. I'll be curious how Deontay feels about that this fall. But I think from an overall perspective of what I know about Mike Tomlin, what I know about how the Steelers play football, Arthur Smith, smash mouth individual, should be a strong fit in Pittsburgh.
So you say running the football, you can never run the football enough. I mean, you tell a Pittsburgh Steelers fan that. You tell anybody in Pittsburgh that's the dream right there, is run the damn football. They're all into that. But people have a bit of I want to say negative connotation on how he utilized Bijan Robinson last season. And so, I mean, you look at his numbers, he's a 1,400 all-purpose yard guy last year. I think that speaks a little, some volume for him, but people weren't totally sold on that. Was it as bad as it looked on the outside, maybe, with how he utilized that type of runner?
No, if I told you that 1,400 yards from scrimmage you mentioned was a Falcons rookie record, would you say that was poor usage from Arthur Smith?
No, I would not.
I would not either. Now, I think the most alarming part, not alarming, but more so concerning or frustrating part of it, is they talked so much after they drafted Robinson last April about playing him in the slot, playing him, moving him all over the formation. That didn't really happen. There were times where his role fluctuated. I think the problem that Arthur ran into frequently in Atlanta was he had so many weapons and he just consistently struggled blending and mixing and matching to where you're equally balancing the touches for each target. You know, you'd have a game where you have London with 7 catches for 130 yards and he'd come back the next week with 1 catch for 9 yards. And it's like, how does this happen? You know, that can't happen. Kyle Pitts, everybody knows all the struggles that he's had since that rookie year. It's kind of a similar deal with Bijan, in my personal opinion, to where the role just fluctuated so much and how they used him. And it really just shouldn't have, because you know what he's good at. You know he's special with the ball in his hands. And it just, you know, there were too many times where he just felt removed from what they were trying to do. And I think that Arthur internally really struggled kind of juggling the amount of playmakers that he had last year. And I think you kind of saw Robinson's numbers at times, and I'd say on a week-to-week basis, weren't what you would think they would be, but the cumulative number ended up being just fine to where I wouldn't be overly concerned about that.
Yeah, and I mean, this wasn't really an issue when he was offensive coordinator for the Titans. It's one of the things that drew him to Atlanta. But, you know, who do you think the Steelers are going to get? I mean, it seems like there are two versions of Arthur Smith. There's Arthur Smith, the head coach, and then there's Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, which is kind of the truer version, I think, I guess in your mind of who this guy is and who are the Steelers getting.
Yeah, Arthur Smith, the head coach, drew a lot of criticism for the way that he managed games at times, and I think he just reached a point where he had too much on his plate, and I think the offensive coordinator role is just a little bit better suited for him. Um, the one thing about him that I will say as a head coach, phenomenal culture builder. Locker room loved him all the way till the very end. Locker room after week 18 was still very supportive of him. Um, he will not have a hard time fitting in that locker room. He will not have a hard time earning respect. A lot of people look at him as like, hey, he's the son of the guy that runs FedEx, but he could be doing anything that he wants to do right now, and he's the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's going to win him a lot of support in that locker room. I think in terms of what version of Arthur Smith you're getting, I think it is the offensive coordinator. I think it's the guy that had a lot of success in Tennessee, not the guy whose offense failed to score 30 points this past year. That's the guy who had rough quarterback play, who put himself in that position from trying to manage everything else around it and balancing everything, and I think overbalancing to the point where he just couldn't really handle it all. And you know what? That's fine. He's a 42-year-old who was in his first head coaching stint, still a promising young offensive mind.
So you bring up the quarterback play. You said that it's incompetent, I guess. The Steelers are looking for a quarterback, or at least a solution at quarterback. Was it just that Tyler Heineke and Desmond Ridder were that bad, or should you be concerned? And can he, was there any light there to say maybe he could build a quarterback, kind of take that next step, or help Kenny Pickett take that next step?
Yeah, there were times in Atlanta where Ridder looked like he was so close to finding that consistency and finding that next level. And then as that would happen, he'd have a 3 interception game, and just all the progress just be thrown out the window. The interesting thing about Arthur, when he was in Tennessee, the work that he did kind of reinvigorating Ryan Tannehill's career earned him so much praise there, and kind of helped him build that reputation of being really good with quarterbacks. To the point where I think they thought they could work a little bit of magic with Ridder. You draft him in round 3 in an underwhelming quarterback draft class as is. And I think they just kind of thought there was something there, that wasn't. I still think Arthur, on the surface, again, kind of a unique background, right? Not a quarterback's coach. A lot of these young offensive minds you see nowadays are working hands-on with QBs. No, he was an offensive lineman in college at UNC, spent the entirety of his time in Tennessee, assistant tight ends coach and full-time tight ends coach. Very, again, smash mouth, physical individual. With the quarterback position, you're going to find that he'll be pursuing guys. He loves that play action game. Having quick eyes is very important for him. That middle of the field accuracy is important. There were times I was there in Atlanta. There were also times where conceptually they struggled. I thought sometimes the spacing within his route concepts was not there. That was something that he came under fire for pretty frequently. Actually, was just there were various concepts he used that just were not great in terms of how he was utilizing the players he was utilizing, where they were at, and just things of that nature, to where it just wasn't great. But I still think that his offense, while not overly quarterback friendly, has been proven in the past to be helpful and can, in the right circumstance with the right young quarterback, lead to positive growth.
Yeah, do you put, I guess, more of the, like, was Desmond Ridder kind of doomed from the start? I mean, was he just not good enough? You mentioned that he and Mariota and Tyler Heineke, these guys just aren't week 1 starters. Was it really the talent holding him back, or do you worry at all about how Arthur Smith kind of develops quarterbacks? Because his success with Ryan Tannehill, that was a guy who had been in the league for a few years already, and had some experience under his belt.
Yeah, I don't think development should be a huge concern with Arthur Smith. Ridder took a positive step. I think you just reach a point with him where he is what he is. Ridder, the quarterback that played the last 4 games of last year, was very different from the quarterback that played the first 7.5 weeks of this year before he entered think it was concussion protocol at halftime against Tennessee, and then everything just broke loose after that. But the quarterback that played this year, you could see there was a level of confidence that wasn't there last year. His numbers were up. There was a 3-week stretch where he was second in the NFL in passing yards behind Patrick Mahomes, averaging just under 300 yards a game. The production within the passing offense under Arthur Smith was proven to be there. And I think if you're a Steelers fan, that's what should really encourage you, is that when Arthur had Matt Ryan, that offense could really attack teams aerially. This year, at times, in 2022, they were so run heavy. They led the NFL in rushing attempts, and they had the third best rushing offense. This year, they tried to be more balanced. They didn't really have the quarterback for it, but there were still weeks where they were throwing for 300 yards a game. Arthur had a 3-week stretch this year where that offense had 400 plus yards every game for the first time since 2018 over that time span. Like there were times when that offense looked really good, and really it all depended on QB play. And again, I don't think that the talent that he had at that position was enough for what he needed. And I think that now that you move him away from that head coaching, that executive CEO role and all the head coach responsibilities, that you'll kind of be able to see that offense take off a little bit more.
So last one I got here for you. It's kind of a two-parter. Kyle Pitts, Drake London had the games, obviously, but also didn't have games. Explain to me what was wrong with. I mean, Kyle Pitts should have been the greatest thing to ever touch the field tight end wise. The Steelers have a tight end in Pat Freiermuth that is hoping to take another step. What went on there? What was the problem there?
Yeah, this year in particular, Pitts was not healthy. That's something that a lot of people have missed, I think, nationally. Obviously, he had that torn MCL last season and then came back this year. They kind of played it slow in camp, and then by the time the year started, he still wasn't 100%. And by the time in the year that he would have been 100%, he'd already been hit enough to where he was no longer capable of being 100%. And then he had his first child mid-season, and there's a lot of moving parts to that situation to where he just physically was not at his highest capabilities. There were still games, as you mentioned, where he was particularly good. Jonnu Smith has, for whatever reason, flourished under Arthur Smith wherever he's gone. You think about the big contract that he got in New England.
I was going to say, he was a baller in Tennessee.
Yeah, baller in Tennessee, went to New England, fell off the face of the earth, came back to Atlanta. There was a point this year he led the Falcons in receiving, which that might not be the most glowing endorsement of an Arthur Smith offense. But still, if you're Pat Freiermuth, I personally think that any tight end and running back on Pittsburgh's roster should be thrilled. Arthur historically has utilized tight ends at a very high level. Michael Pruitt led the Falcons, or was tied for the lead in touchdowns last year on the Falcons with 4, I believe, in 2022. Not exactly a name you would think of as being up there, but again, Arthur, for all the criticism that his red zone stuff came under, and again, rightfully so at times, which was confusing because he was really good in that regard in Tennessee, but he still found ways to involve various players in the red zone. I think some of the inconsistency, again, this year was more down to health for Pitts. Last year, I think you look at quarterback play. 2021 with Pitts, I believe he had the second most receiving yards by a rookie tight end in league history. Broke the 1,000-yard receiving mark with Matt Ryan.
You couldn't tell somebody in Pittsburgh that. They would have no idea.
Yeah. Like Pitts, a lot of people miss that. A lot of people miss that Pitts, as a rookie, set the franchise rookie record for receptions. And then again, like I said, had the second most receiving yards from rookie tight end in league history. And then you have London come in the year after that and break Pitt's record for receptions from a rookie. He had 868 yards as a rookie and I believe close to 900 this year, may have eclipsed 900. You look at Robinson setting a franchise record for yards from scrimmage from a rookie. Last year, Algier broke the rookie rushing record. They found various ways to utilize all of these guys in their own respective ways to where a lot of people miss that concept nationally because, as you mentioned, the individual games from a week-to-week basis kind of varied, but cumulatively they all produced at a pretty good level, other than Pitts, which, again, I put on quite a bit of injuries for this past year.
So you're telling me that the Steelers should just continue to draft one offensive key piece every year because that guy's going to ball out. And then if you're playing fantasy football, that's the guy you're taking a shot on. I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
at least in their rookie year, because apparently the national narrative is year 2, year 3, they're falling off the face of the earth. When healthy, they're not falling off the face of the earth. But yeah,
Nice.
yeah, if you're Pittsburgh, just keep on drafting them.
Keep on drafting. Steven, you got one more for him?
No, that was all I had.
All right, last thing we got for you before we let you go. Arthur Smith with the mustache, Arthur Smith without the mustache. Who's the better coach? What one would you prefer?
Yeah, the mustache to me, we're kind of talking about this off air. The mustache is such a power play.
Agreed.
It's really just a character tie that I have with Arthur, and I feel like you get rid of the mustache, you kind of lose some of that character. So if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm hoping Arthur Smith shows up to that introductory press conference rocking the stash. That's just me, though. That's just me.
I hope so too. I hope I walk up there and I go, oh, there it is, in all its glory. Daniel, can't thank you enough. We appreciate it. I think you definitely boosted the morale of a lot of Steelers fans with this one, and they desperately needed it after the last 24 hours. Make sure to go check out Daniel's work at si.com/NFL/Falcons, FalconsReport.com. I would believe it fall under as well. Anything else you want to plug for us?
Twitter by Daniel Flick. We should have a lot of new content coming in. In case you guys weren't aware, the Falcons hired a new head coach a week ago. Who knew? Yeah, a lot of new content coming there. A lot of exciting content. Some exclusive pieces coming on that. And appreciate you guys having me on, and hope to be of your service, or potentially sleeping on your couch in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis is going to be a good time. We'll make sure that we got plenty of YouTube comment of Daniel passing out on the red couch in the living room. Very excited for that one. All right, brother. Can't thank you enough. Enjoy, and we will see you in Indianapolis.
Appreciate you.